All right, guys, how to invest in NFTs. This is going to be a really, hopefully, a fun project. I don't know how, I think I want this to be as interactive as possible. Feel free to ask as many questions. I will mostly be looking at these slides, talking about stuff. But I'm also going to ask Ryan to interject as and be the voice for you guys if obviously there's a lot of interesting new things, and because I'm deep in this space, I might not know what context you guys might not have. I'm assuming very little, but let's just see how much fun we can have and how much we can learn about NFTs. All right, so this is just reintroduce ourselves. I'm going to introduce myself a little bit more. I want to talk briefly, this slides, I'm going to highlight a bunch of articles and a bunch of tweets. And really, I want to highlight what are NFTs, but more what makes them valuable, and try to dissect it to a level of what relatability. And then we can talk about how to invest in NFTs. I can actually go into OpenC and actually try, maybe even buy an NFT live. Maybe not. And why NFTs are the future. I just spent like another $6,000 on NFTs 10 minutes ago. Just stop. All right. So my name is Eng Taing. For those who don't know, I am CEO of Tozif Capital. I have a background in economics and finance. Used to be investment banker, did the Peace Corps, did a lot of analytics and business at several different big companies, and most recently at Apple. And now we, Tozif Capital is mostly doing real estate. And for those who are, started with us, like you might be like, what is Eng doing now? What is this NFT? This is really just mostly a passion project or passion hobby of mine. And I was still doing a lot of real estate. In fact, we got some pretty good deals in the pipeline. Excited to highlight those. And we have a surprise deal announcement at the end of this presentation for those who want to wait the whole time. So this is not financial advice. This NFT was sold for $69 million, but it's not financial advice. None of this is financial advice, and I would highly recommend do your own research. But if I wanted to make a lot of money, maybe I might get into NFTs. I might talk in hypotheticals because I'm very excited about the space. But a lot of this is going to sound ridiculous. A lot of this is going to look ridiculous. I wish I could see videos of the audience so that I can maybe engage on how ridiculous this looks. I sort of, as I talk about NFTs, I talked about it to my team and to Ryan, and he, it's a lot of incredulous statements and tweets and texts that you would never find in real world. But I wanted to highlight the culture of NFTs and sort of dissect and deep dive and really unveil what NFT and NFT culture is. So what are NFTs? Let's go into a potential technical definition. Really, it's a non-fungible token. And while Bitcoin is identical, what is fungible? Bitcoin is identical, which means it's fungible. Non-fungible means tokens are unique. So there are 21 million Bitcoin out there, but every NFT, there can only be one unique token of that. And it's tokenized so that even though you could have two art pieces that look very similar, they are distinct by code. So they have some distinct digital blue fingerprint that people can trace back. And that's a very valuable thing in the art scene. If you could authenticate anything that's using code, I mean, this is sort of one of the great applications of NFTs. NFTs are also like plane tickets. They all look the same, but they have different seats and destination. What I mean by that is that there are a lot of NFTs that have different value and different journeys. And we're all very early, so we'll see how this goes. And I'll highlight some case studies along the way. Non-fungible tokens are ideal for creating digital versions of collectibles like art and trading cards. And I'm mostly going to highlight that portion of NFTs. And there's a whole variety of NFTs. And you can use NFTs in lots of different things. And people can use NFTs interchangeably as art or gaming or music. You can tokenize anything. Anything you can tokenize and create digital representations of. For the most part, NFTs are based on Ethereum blockchain, although there are new NFTs on Solana and potentially Polygon and other chains, but the vast majority are on Ethereum in the form of ERC 721 tokens. Don't ask me what that is. I don't know. Or it's hard for me to explain. These tokens can be bought and sold on secondhand marketplaces. And that's the exciting part about NFTs. It's a very liquid, some would say illiquid asset, which probably is, that has secondhand material value. And let's talk about how it has material value. Here's a great little diagram of fungible, non-fungible, and then physical, digital. So art represents the physical, non-fungible version of this. Now, you of course can replicate that Mona Lisa, but if you can authenticate it, that original Mona Lisa has tremendous value. And so here on the bottom right corner is a CryptoPunk. It's an NFT. It's been selling for millions of dollars. Today, it's sold for $100 million of sales have been occurred on CryptoPunks. It's non-fungible. Someone could probably, and I've done this, download that as a PNG file or JPEG, whatever it is, and say you own it. So why does it have value? Because I could just copy paste it, put it on my Twitter profile or LinkedIn profile, or just blow it up in art. And it'll look the same as if you have it. It's the fact that you have this authentication on the blockchain that allows you to identify yourself as the authentic owner of that, and that asset is authenticated and has unique material value, and it has a history. There's a lot of things I just said. A lot represents sort of this value of cryptocurrencies and the blockchain, and then mixing with art. So I'm probably gonna make some assumptions that you guys don't know in terms of like what the value of blockchain and transparent ledgers are. So I'm mostly gonna focus on NFTs and art and investing, and not on all the technology and all the benefits of cryptocurrencies and blockchain. This was a screenshot I took yesterday of basically the highest revenue protocols on cryptocurrencies. And you think about it, you might think of these as cryptocurrencies, but really they're stocks of companies. And the biggest revenue generator in the past 30 days is Axie Infinity. It's a game. It's an NFT based game that has play to earn mechanics that has generated $10 million a day in revenue. This is more than Ethereum. And Ethereum generates a lot of revenue through transactions and NFTs and minting. OpenC is the third largest, right, very small still. And so it makes more than all the other protocols, or essentially cryptocurrencies combined. So the first and third, and the second, very related to NFTs, are a lot of the revenue today on cryptocurrency are generated by NFTs and related to NFTs.
Hey, have you played this Axie Infinity game? Be honest.
I don't have time for games. It's a lot of work. I do have a little case study on Axie Infinity, so let me get to that. Very interesting game, interesting dynamic. OpenC, the most popular marketplace, just passed $1 billion in monthly trading volume. It's doing more volume than a lot of digital or physical marketplaces nowadays. And and if I could be an investor in anything, OpenC would be something that would be great, because they gain 2.5% of all those volume. So that's a large number of revenue that OpenC is getting.
And are all these Nifty Galaxy, Nifty Gateway, Foundation, are all of these just very different OpenC competitors?
Yep.
Okay. Looks like some of them are going away.
Yeah, OpenC is really, I think if you could build something, a platform, OpenC competitor would be really cool. Crypto is not very good on mobile. So if you can create a mobile application, that would probably kill it. So what makes NFTs valuable? I first want to highlight that there have been a ton of sales just this past week. And these are essentially these, art pieces, somewhat generative, somewhat CryptoPunks is, has sale. CryptoPunks has a huge sale recently where a venture capital firm went in and bought 40 CryptoPunks. Lots of celebrities are buying CryptoPunks. It's 10,000 variations of this kind of avatar. Hard for me to point and show you. Can you see my mouse screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's a CryptoPunk. And this is some tweets I got today. 100 million loss in the last 24 hours. And if you were investing in CryptoPunks in the last 6 months, it's been up 600%. But there are other stuff that have made more money. And I want to highlight all these insane numbers because I want to show you that this is a whole world of this transaction that exists. You don't have to participate in it. You don't have to, you might be intrigued by it. You might have heard of it on some news article or a LinkedIn post or a tweet. But I want to just dig into it more so that I can highlight why these things are happening. And so like, one of the things with CryptoPunks, and it's very representative of all these NFTs, is especially these collectible NFTs, which generally come in these 10,000 varieties. And CryptoPunks was the first, one of the first of its kind, which gives us a lot of legacy value, because being first is anything, especially in a digital space where first is 2017, so not long ago. They were given away for free. Over time, they've gained value, and only this year did they, and this is February, their average value, or like the average value is a little bit less than that, but the highest value of this CryptoPunk sold for 1.5 million. So if you sold in 2018, you probably regret it. It does feel a little bit like holding Bitcoin early. This is what NFTs feel like. So if you're investing in NFTs, could go 0, could go 100x. These things happen in this marketplace. Not necessarily the way I would want to invest in general. Obviously, I'm a very big proponent of passive income and steady, predictable income. So NFTs is more speculative. But if you understand the technology and art, it's not just an investment. It's many different layers. So I think one of the things that people have always asked me, like, why are these NFTs valuable? They look weird, they look funky. Or why all my friends have these these apes on them on the profile pics? What's going on here? Andy Warhol created lots of art pieces. They get valued and bought by very wealthy people who value art. And one of the things that one of my art collector friends told me is, a lot of times they'll just buy art so that they create a level of value of an Andy Warhol painting. And it sounds a little bit like recreating a marketplace, because essentially you're pumping a value of your own assets that you hold a lot of, so that it has higher value. A lot of this is basically because art and NFTs are scarce. There's not that many of them. It's not like 21 million Bitcoin where you can have lots of liquidity. NFTs specifically represent a very distinct thing of basically being art and all the value of art, which is, very subjective and but very much also a digital representation of yourself, and and you can represent it digitally. And because we all live digitally nowadays, I think digital art is potentially going to be more valuable than physical art, especially since it can be authenticated. On the right, you see these awesome looking apes. This is a very fascinating case study of the Bored Ape Yacht Club, which was released in March for, so essentially you could have gone into this website and minted, basically got in, paid around $200. It was like 0.05 Ethereum at the time, whatever the value of Ethereum was in March, and minted a bunch of them. Minted, I mean, you're basically entering into a contract, a smart contract with Ethereum blockchain. That smart contract spits out a token that represents the art, that art that gets shown and valued. And if you were lucky enough to get a gold monkey, 4 months later, that would have sold for north of $1 million. Congratulations, your $200 made $1 million.
And when you mint these, you don't know what you're getting, right?
Yeah, so that's actually one of the interesting pieces of NFTs, especially collectible NFTs, where it introduces a multifaceted way of investing, which is a lottery system. You're like a little bit of rush of what you want to get out of this. So it's very fascinating on that point of view as well. Somebody asked, are there NFTs on XRP Ledger? 99% of NFTs are on Ethereum, and it's very interesting. And so I think most of the people are just in Ethereum. I'm almost all on chain. So if meaning that I live on chain, I'm not on the exchanges. So my crypto experience is very much on the protocols and interfacing with these applications. I want to highlight this very fun story of a 12-year-old who made over $160,000 a day, one day, in Ethereum on NFTs, which in July 23rd, now that $160,000 is probably worth $350,000. It was just one day. This little kid, 12-year-old, did these NFTs, essentially these whales. I think he made some couple thousand of these, and people found them very cute or something, and there was attracting to it. And he sold them at a very low cost of 0.05 or whatever, which is not low, but when you count it in that fractional version, and you have lots of Ethereum, and you can say, I just bought something for 5 ETH. In reality, that's like north of $16,000. That's a lot of money in real world terms. But I think when you're in this crypto world, this digital internet money world, everything feels weird. But the value of NFTs to an artist here, and is that this kid is gonna get all the residuals of every sale of these weird whales. That's what he called it, weird whales. And these are written in the smart contract. So if you're Andy Warhol, or if you're a famous artist, you sold a bunch of art early on, which you weren't famous, or you passed away, and your art became really famous, you don't get any of that. Even if you lived, your descendants don't get any of that. You get what you get for basically what you sell. The value of NFTs in smart contract to a creator, to a producer of these NFTs, is the residuals. In fact, a lot of the strategy of releasing these NFTs is to give them as cheap as possible, and then for a secondary market to build out so that they do sell for millions each. The CryptoPunks have sold north of it's going to be close to $1 billion, and they're collecting, I believe, somewhere around 5%, or some version of that. There's a huge incentive to create secondary markets here, and create residual value, because you get that those residuals.
Do you know how those whales are performing now?
No, I don't, because well, this other kid who did these long neck ladies. She's 16 years old. Those are doing really well. Uh, made a couple $1,000s on that one. She's
We
actually not
have a
that much NFT.
question. We have a question. I don't know if we're going to be able to do this tonight, but can you show us step by step on how to create an NFT?
No, I will not, because there's many ways to do this. Like there's a couple of ways where you can do it in terms of, you have an art and then you can go to NFT creation service. How you can create an NFT is pretty simple. How you can create a valuable NFT, it's probably not that hard, but there's lots of different ways to do it. YouTube's your friend in terms of how to create an NFT. Lots of great videos.
And I think these next sections on community and things like that will tie into like the arguably more important parts of creating an NFT.
I think one of the things that I found when going into NFTs, and why I think this is a much more exciting space than even cryptocurrencies, even though it's very much related to cryptocurrency, is there's this community aspect of it. And what makes anything valuable, when you have a community, you represent, and NFT could be a ticket to that community that creates residual value. There are, going on this Bored Ape Yacht Club analogy, when I may or may not have several, and they're worth more than 100K each now. You get a lot of people following you, and you get a lot of people joining in a club. And if you think about this as a country club, right? You join a golf club, you join a country club, you pay 10, 30, 40, 50, $100,000 membership to be in this exclusive club. These NFTs sometimes feels like clubs where you create a club and you create some asset, in this case, Bored Ape Yacht Club. It's essentially a brand. Like imagine having a brand of Yeezys, and now you're part owner of Yeezys, the brand. And so you're always talking about it. Then you see someone else who has a Yeezy token or whatnot. It becomes a signifier. And so humans are always looking for signifiers. And so I have lots of these representations. I was chatting with Adam Bain last night because we connected on an NFT we were both in. He has 6, I only have 5. I was trying to buy one earlier. I was selling for $40,000. Adam Bain, CEO of Twitter, connected. And I also have many other examples of many famous people and many connected people connecting with me. But also in general, I've heard of many deals happening because another person has a same NFT as you, or a similar NFT in this community. And so when you see that as an outsider, you get a little bit of FOMO. You might want to okay, I want to get into this community. So this community effect of creating value, of creating, creating value both digitally as well as even physically, it creates more desire to enter, which makes the NFTs work more, and then that creates more desire to enter so it's a bit of a loop effect. It's a couple of really creative NFTs where it's a gating mechanism as well. And so, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I think it's super interesting that people are doing deals because maybe they both are ape owners. It's such an interesting way to say, hey, I can vibe with you, I get you and you get me, and let's talk and see how we can do something together. It's like we were talking about this country club comparison. Deals used to be done on the golf course, and now they're done on Discord channels over apes or ducks.
Yeah, I have a lot of those ducks. All these words sound ridiculous. I know this is a ridiculous topic, but $1 billion in revenue, it's hard to sort of miss that in terms of the value that it provides. And one thing that it provides is utility. if you think of utility of art, the utility is to have something nice to look at. Gary Vee drew these little drawings and then made NFTs out of them. They're not the prettiest thing to look at,
Incredible.
but he sold them for a very little amount, a couple hundred, maybe $1,000, I don't know. And now they're going for a minimum of close to I believe $40,000 to $45,000. There's 10,000 of them. And so why would somebody want this kind of childlike piece of art drawn by Gary Vee that's digitally represented? Because he creates value and utility. These NFTs represent a ticket function of how to, for him, he's creating a convention, the Free Friends Convention, and it has 3 years of convention. And if you hold an NFT, you will get exclusive access to the convention. There's no other way to get access to this convention without that. There's a few other examples where I've heard people buy a house in Vegas, and all the NFT owners get exclusive access to this house in Vegas. There are various ways to essentially create utility out of NFTs. But if you're the creator, you want to create value for your NFT holders. And so if you're an artist, if you're a singer, a DJ, you might want to host exclusive concert or even have backstage passes for your NFT holders. That creates residual value. And you being a ticket buyer, if you buy a ticket to a concert, that will lose value once you go to the concert, because then there's no more further utility. But because potentially this could have perpetual utility based on what the creator does, and the creator very incentivized to create more value in terms of getting an NFT to be resold and sold again, because you get always a little percentage. Then this is a really positive feedback loop cycle of people wanting to create NFTs and create value for their community, and then the community wanting to talk about it a lot and creating a lot of FOMO into this.
And Eng, you told me a story one time about one NFT where the creator airdropped a free NFT to everyone who held the original one, and then those free ones that they airdropped are now being sold for $2,000, $3,000.
Yeah, they're being sold for close to $10,000 to $11,000 now. And
that's a great way to create value.
Yeah, so it's basically residual value through perpetual utility. And the other utility that I think is really interesting is liquidity. And I'm just going to talk about liquidity just a little bit. When you buy any piece of art or anything, or a ticket or a game, you use it and then it's discarded. When you have a secondary market like OpenC to then get utility, or to have at least a residual of like, hey, these things are getting sold for higher and higher value, you're actually starting to think these as investments as well. You might not care about the Gary Vee conference, but you might know that people might care about it, and you might want to buy an NFT so you can sell it in the future. So these are, liquidity is a huge value in this market. Of course, it's a very small portion of people buying a lot of things, but those small portion of people have a lot of money in crypto.
I love those squiggly rainbow lines.
Scribbling.
Really remarkable.
Those are going for like $2-3 million. Let's talk about like a funny one of these rocks, which I had the chance to buy. Unfortunately, I didn't. The minimum to buy into these 100 ether rocks, they call them, is $1 million, around $1.2 million today. These things are a bit ridiculous. It sounds like, why is someone buying this clip art of a rock?
Just look at the nuance, though.
Yeah, there will be clip arts of shovels, and I have a few of those. Doing okay. Of other things that will look ridiculous, that will also probably go to zero. And my expectation is that this is something that will keep going to zero. But there's always a few that gets into the zeitgeist of popular culture, and they get very much more rare. And people talk about all the time. If you're on crypto Twitter like me, this is a big topic of conversation that someone could sell a rock because there's only 100 rocks, and these are the original rocks from 2017.
And we've got a question. Are NFTs, are NFT purchases a way to launder money?
Is art a way to launder money? That's it. That's my answer. I think if you think about art as a way to launder money, let's try to walk this through. Let's say you buy a Van Gogh and then you donate it. I've seen that happen. Couple $1 million, get a little tax write-off. Maybe you donate it at a much higher value. Yeah, that could be a way to get a tax break. A launder money, I think, I think in terms of like, I think there's lots of ways to create value. I don't think NFTs laundering money is one of the big reasons why people do it, especially since NFTs and all crypto transactions are transparent, meaning that I know exactly what you have, you know exactly what I have. You can look on the ledger, you can see that I have a couple apes, you can see that I have a rock, I wish I had a rock, and that you can see that the history of all the wallets and who held it, and then actually, so one of the great things about NFTs and cryptocurrency is the transparency on this this decentralized ledger called the blockchain. So there's a lot of text here, and one thing I want to highlight is it feels like crazy internet magic money. There's a lot of people making a lot of money on NFTs. I've heard of many stories of people who came on and became very, very rich from making NFTs. I'm not saying it's financial advice, don't follow this, but these are examples of people having done a few things with NFTs. I have also heard of many people quit the day jobs to do NFTs.
And you've got some of these penguins, right?
I do.
While we were doing this research, I was reading about the penguins, and all the penguins are facing the same direction, but they minted one penguin that's facing the opposite direction. Nothing special other than facing the opposite direction. And it sold for how much? 600,000?
Yeah, there's a couple selling for more. You know, all these things sound ridiculous, especially if you're talking to somebody who's not in the space. All these things sound ridiculous. And it should sound ridiculous. And don't get into space if you think that you want to make money. Get into space because this is interesting technology and interesting feature use. I do think that it will be, and I'll highlight that. One of the things that, I'll highlight a couple other tweets. One of my favorite ones here is, someone bought this for 11-day 0.00747 ETH, so for 29 ETH. This probably sold for 120 ETH later. So this guy might be a little bit regretful. NFTs, yeah, there's essentially how everyone feels when they sell. Lots of people are quitting. I know a few, and those are people who work in these very big companies.
And got an interesting question. Will institutions get into NFTs? I believe the answer is yes already. And possibly museums. And if so, can people steal art like a heist? You can trace it where it went on the blockchain, but it can't be reversed, correct?
Yeah, there are examples of, and this is why being on chain is very risky. If you don't know what to do, then being on chain is essentially being on the blockchain. When you're on Coinbase, there's a centralized exchange. They act like a bank, they act like they will say you have this, and their records are the source of truth. Whether you trust them, that's why it's central bank, right? The central authority. They create central authority. They can reverse illicit transactions. In a decentralized blockchain, I've heard many stories of people losing their millions of dollars of NFTs or crypto because they clicked on a wrong link and they accidentally got hacked through a mass hack. So never click on random links that you don't know. And if you know know how to read smart contracts, it helps a little bit. Will institutions get into NFTs? They are already. It's the funniest thing. There's a $1 billion fund equity arm of Saudi Aramco collecting these NFTs. There are venture capital firms raising tens of hundreds of millions of dollars to buy NFTs. There are well-known celebrities and business folks who are buying NFTs. Justin Tron, billionaire. Justin Sun from Creative Tron, billionaire. He bought that 1.3 million rock. So this, and then also big brands are getting the NFTs. Ice-T bought an ape, Visa bought a CryptoPunk. All these celebrities are buying, if you call them celebrities, buying these NFTs, and it's all kind of this zeitgeist of popular culture where if you're not hearing about NFTs, I'm not sure if you're watching the news. It's also a really weird thing to look at when you're looking at it from the outside. Every time somebody, I really wish I bought a CryptoPunk a couple months ago. Oh, can't read them all. So what makes a good investment? And I highlighted a little bit of all that before. Market, team, product. Really, for an NFT investment, it's market, community, team, and product. The community really makes a big difference. And how do you find a community? You look into Discords, you look into on Twitter, you find out who's talking about it, you find how people feel about it. It's a lot of work. It's not something I do specifically to look into investments. It's just a fascinating world. Market, people. There was a NFT that caters specifically to a market of folks who environmentalists, and for every 25% of all revenue they donated to a charitable cause. In fact, almost every NFT collection I know of has a lot of donations, and so a lot of these money is being circulated to actually charities. If you're a charity or running something like that, you should definitely have a crypto wallet, a public key wallet where you can accept donations. Definitely a good thing. So I've been talking about these NFT collectibles and specifically NFT collectibles, and because I'm deep into that space. I wish I knew about apes. I could have bought them for $200. I could now sell them for a couple $100,000 each. And I know a few people who have. So how do you find these projects? There's a lot of investigation. These are the websites I would look at for calendars of drops. There was one earlier today. I bought 20th. I think it will go well, but it's a bet. The future of NFTs. I think the biggest component of NFTs is that it's going to be pervasive of all media. If you are a writer and you release a first run of a book, why wouldn't you make each of these books a NFT? And now somebody has more incentive to say or to buy this digital representation of a first run of a book. And when it gets sold, you get a residual. And so it becomes authenticated. If you're a singer or a DJ, you want plays so that people will come to your concerts. When you have the blockchain and you have NFTs, you can create digital communities as well as direct access to these Everything is, there's the Ashton Kutcher NFT that was released recently. They made a couple $1 million, and the only way to watch the show Stoner Cats, funny name, is to have an NFT of that. And so like it's exclusive access to a screening in that case, and probably to meet Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis. I don't know. Another big part of NFTs and sort of the future NFTs is gaming. I think this is going to be the biggest part of NFTs. Yeah, Ryan Riot, who I'm connected with, he's the head of YouTube. He's looking to NFTs. Do I have a couple of Mokongs? Yes, I do. Axie Infinity, the game that I talked about earlier. Very interesting case study here. They make $10 million in revenue a day. Their market cap is close to $4 billion or something, couple of $1 billion, which is ridiculous. But the most ridiculous thing is the way people play Axie Infinity is to actually not even play it at all. They have this thing called scholar systems where you, as a well-heeled person with less time to play it, can hire Renzi from Philippines or a bunch of people from Philippines or anywhere where they have access to the internet and access to Infinity, and have them play on your behalf and grind the games. If you played games, you would grind, you would create levels, you would pick up items. But if the game went away, if there was no residual value afterwards, in this case, you have this residual value of the open place marketplace. These guys were making more than $2,000 a week on just having an NFT team. They call it scholars. And for example, I would pay these guys maybe half my earnings. I would take half for just staking them, giving them upfront money. It would be a good APR. But the folks in the Philippines, and there are several $100,000, 100,000 of these folks are making 5 times their living wage. So if you're not in NFTs and you're struggling, this essentially is a very big way to make money, especially in a global economy that decentralized decentralized cryptocurrency allows you to do. NBA Top Shot. I didn't talk about NBA Top Shot a lot, but it was the big zeitgeist thing earlier last year. One of the interesting things was the NBA was making more money from NBA Top Shot every day than the NBA games themselves. So if you're any kind of brand or any kind of media, and you're not in NFTs or think about NFTs, this is definitely a place you should look into, and everyone will be in this space in the next 2-3 years. I think NFTs will be the biggest product category in 10 years.
And one of the things that I think was super interesting is when you were starting to tell me about NFTs like a year ago in NFT time, so a few weeks ago, you're talking about how you used to play video games and you would sell your skins or whatever the name was. And like, in a sense, that's kind of the first NFTs here, right? You're playing these video games and you're getting rewarded with these new outfits or whatever, and then you can sell these outfits. And so in that sense, this kind of like space of selling these digital goods has been around for a little while.
Yeah, it's eBay. It's this distinct authenticate eBay without having to get shipped some random junk. It's digital goods, right? And I do want to actually highlight some use cases. So I'll do a live presentation of how to buy NFTs and whatnot.
Quick question here. Is there a list of all these resources you can share with us to get started and jump into some of these unique plays?
Lists, I will highlight a few in a little bit. I do want to actually, before we go into the live, because I know we're almost at the top of the hour, I did mention we have a little surprise for everybody. we'll be launching our third Bitcoin mining fund. Yes, we still do a lot of real estate. This might sound like what the heck Eng's doing, NFTs, Bitcoin mining. Bitcoin mining, our first fund is doing really well. We paid close to 10% in the first month. We expect to have very similar returns in the second month. And for those who attended today's presentation, I will be sending an early access invitation to everybody so that you can make an potential investment. The returns are very good. We were able to acquire a significant amount of new ASIC miners at a very low cost. And with Red Scale, we're doubling essentially fund 1 and 2. And the returns, given Bitcoin price staying flat at 50K, flat, I mean, when we launch this in a few months, the returns are very good over a 5-year return model, which I would believe that it would continue to grow. This presentation isn't about Bitcoin mining, but I just wanted to tease this out a little bit. So for those who want very strong investment option, one of my favorite parts is also lots of great tax benefits. You might need that if you're making so much money on NFTs. I don't know. You get a lot of depreciation benefits on year 1. And of course, Bitcoin is like NFTs, except there's 21 million of them. And I think with the bull market running, I think that will last probably for the end of the year, but also next year, my expectation is to have a very strong run, especially since a lot of Chinese miners aren't mining now. So we're very much looking forward to a very prime opportunity time of mining Bitcoin.
Hey, got a couple questions. Curious the eventual end game. I know art will keep its value, but really in games. So in games, will the residuals stick? There's been virtual economies like Second Life, but that eventually died off. When Axis Infinity falls out of favor, then will there be bag holders?
Yeah, so as I said, this is all early. It's all very speculative. One of the things I find with art in general is there are people who value it beyond the monetary value. That I've seen people refuse some multi-million-dollar offer on the NFT because they just want to hold the NFT. They want to look at it. They want to own it. And who's buying these NFTs? People who've been in crypto for quite a while. And if you've been in crypto for a while, you're probably making it. You probably have a couple tens of hundreds of millions of dollars. I know a few of them. So yeah, it's definitely, I would say, a right way to think about it. That it seems to be, what is the end goal? If the end goal is to flip these NFTs, and let's find some NFTs to flip.
While you're looking those up, can Fund 2 investors compound into Fund 3?
We are exploring that currently because of how quickly we're launching Fund 3 to Fund 2. It's not necessarily a potential option.
And then another question here. I'm still not clear on how NFTs can be utilized by art media creators. This particular person produces audio. NFTs come up time to time within her industry, and yet her industry folks think at large are oblivious about this.
A lot of people are oblivious about things until it hits them in the face and the games change. So I know many artists, many DJs who give exclusive access to, and create a community. You're essentially creating something that, and you don't even have to be the creator, the technical creator of the code. You should probably have a team around it. You would, like, there's this DJ that's Australian DJ, forgot her name, Alice something, Wonderland. She launches an NFT project and she then hosts these sessions for everybody who wants to join because they own pieces of NFT. That's just one example. Lots of people actually are trying to create NFTs. Jay-Z launched his own NFT. The Rock launched an NFT. Lots of artists and actors and famous folks have launched NFTs. Not every one of them reaches zeitgeist. I think it's something that we still need to have I think you need to be connected with the crypto community and create value. It can't just be a cash grab. I think people can see that.
And Eng, I think you can answer both of these pretty quickly. What are some of your current favorite NFT collections, and are you personally making money with your NFTs?
I am making some money. Yes.
Okay.
Let's see. Where am I at? Let me see. Don't look at my public key. Let's not look at all those. Yeah, so I have some. This is just one of my wallets. And I did not buy these for this much. So got some money coming in. Am I selling? I was thinking about selling my ape for $100,000 2 days ago. I just relisted for $140,000. I think it'll sell by the end of the week. I bought it for a lot less than that. I have 3. This CryptoPunk zombie version, minted 4 years ago. So for 4,200. What is 4,200? Ethereum. It is $13 million. Yeah, people are making money on NFTs, and you can actually see the history of how they're making the money, which is actually really cool. And one of the things I really like about NFTs, you can see everybody who's bought and owned it and traded it. You can see that this one was sold 4 years ago for 2.5, and now it's sold for 22.50. It does sound like a cryptocurrency that can go this much. These things happen fairly often enough that it doesn't seem to be an aberration with NFTs. It doesn't necessarily have to be something that's 4 years old. It could be something that art blocks is something that I've gotten very heavily into because of and so there's lots of if you want to go away from these cutesy or other stuff, you can see that there's NFTs like this that are digital representations of an art. They are actually printed or minted on the blockchain, so they are generative, meaning that this is a randomly generated art. And I wanted to buy these a while back, but
if you scroll up a little bit to show what the unique qualities are, just down a little bit on that, I think that's pretty cool too. So each one have unique qualities, and it shows how common each quality is.
Yeah. And so if I want to even geek out even further into NFTs, which I do all the time, if I look at the Bored Apes, you can see, okay, I'm going to look at the guys who, this can all sound ridiculous. I understand. The solid gold, and let's see what these are going for 666 Ethereum. Unfortunately, I don't have any solid gold ones. I have some other versions in, but there are these characteristics that makes it potentially rarer. It's all subjective, of course, but is it really subjective? If you really want to get into NFTs, look at Rarity Tools. You can see there's lots of stats and rankings and stuff. You can see Bored Ape Yacht Club, for example. Floor is 36. Oh, I should delist my ape. It might sell for $140,000, and I might regret that. I'm going to do that right now. Okay, so don't look at my alpha forever. I'm gonna delist this, cancel listing. Okay. The gas price is so much, $21 just to not list it.
What's gas prices?
It's essentially the transaction fee you pay to facilitate a transaction, and so that gets burned with the new London fork of Ethereum, hundreds of millions of dollars. So this was 36.9, which represents $127,000 in today's Ethereum prices. I delisted it because the floor price 36, meaning that the cheapest ape you can buy right now is 36, and I'm doing filter function 36. One of the stats I like to look at when I'm buying or looking at an NFT is, so this one has 10,000 versions of these. There's 5,318 owners. That's a good percentage collection. That really highlights that there's a lot of percentage. There's a lot of people with in this space, and if you hold one ape, all these words together sound very funny. And when you hold one ape, you're less likely to sell. And so when you have less people who like to sell, the remaining selling options or buying options are more expensive, and that creates more residual value. That's just how market making works with stocks, gold, real estate, anything. And so when you have lots more owners, it actually creates a lot of more value. So there's a few other NFTs I'm in. Cool Cats is one, 4,200. And I bought these for, these are my cats. I could sell them for 5 each. Bought for a lot less. Yeah, so this is a really good tool as well. You can find lots of filter functions. You can look at different cats with different tiers. And I first heard of these cool cats because Mike Tyson had one as his profile pic. I was like, why does Mike Tyson have a cat on his profile pic? Yeah, there's a lot of really weird things that happen in NFT space. It's like art, it's like investing. It's subjective, it's objective. If you hold a Cyberkong, you actually get airdropped, which means you get you earn passive income. So you're making these Cyberkongs, you're probably making a couple $100 a day if you hold one. I should probably buy one. There's a couple of pun comments that you're essentially can stake, which means that you're placing into a smart contract, and you can receive the residuals so that you're actually participating in the growth of that stock or that community. Zedruns.
Zedrun. I love that one.
Zedruns is one of the OG ones. These digital horses. You can go to Zedruns and race these horses on this really interesting website, and you can make money. It's sort of like a little bit of gambling. You can, I think it was the highest sell. So you can buy one for 0.06 each, which is a couple $100 still. But the highest sell was 77. So lots
beautiful
of
stallion.
Yes. Oh, seems ridiculous. So these things you can see, it's all pretty transparent. I have a few of these. Let me just come back. Anyways, any questions?
Yeah,
I'll get lost in this.
3 hours will go by and we'll still be looking at these. So if there's no other questions, thank everyone for coming tonight. We had a great time with this. We'll be sending out a replay in an hour or so. Eng, do you have any closing comments?
Well, actually, there's a bunch of questions. So
wait.
You did not look at the Q&A or the chat.
Yeah, I did.
Q&A, can fund to investors? Okay.
Yeah. I asked all. Yeah, I asked all this. What are you saying?
What's my favorite NFT collection? I think I like the cats a lot. It's really cute. I've gotten into some recent cats that like all of WeChat. I'm not in WeChat, but when you have a big audience like the Chinese community, get into it. It's really interesting. Yeah, it's a very fascinating space. Do your own research. Sometimes it still doesn't make sense if like one of the really interesting things is I want to highlight this really great highest last sale. Let's see what people are actually paying for these things. This one sold for 3.3 million. This squiggly line sold for 750 each, which is 2 million something. And if you want to sell this or buy this, the artist gets a cut of every residual sale. So if you're an artist, you should create NFTs because you can get a cut of this sale, 2.5 to 5%. So it's a fascinating world. It can go up a lot, which has a lot when there's a lot of people interested in this space and a lot of money coming in. that generally creates a big market effect. It's not something that I think it would. I think it's going to be also the future of gaming products and media, and I wouldn't be surprised if first of all Marvel is releasing their own NFTs. Disney's obviously exploring it, part of Marvel, or Marvel's part of Disney. Lots of studios, lots of media agencies are all doing NFTs. So I think of it more from an investor perspective. It has been my biggest alpha of this year, and it made a lot of money in a lot of other things. I'm also looking for the Bitcoin mining. Thanks to everybody for.
And speaking of Bitcoin mining, when is the fund going to be available on the platform? Do you want to make it available right now? Should we wait until we send the email?
Yeah, let's make it available right now.
All right, let's do it now.
All right, it's going live. So anybody who wants to go invest, go to our website. We will also be sending an email with the recording of this presentation and a link to that investment.
All right,
great.
it's up.
All right, guys. It's great talking to you. Great presenting this. I know I can go on and on and on. People will just continue to make less sense over time. We'll get back to our normally scheduled program of real estates and passive income in the next few weeks. Thanks for attending. Have a good night.
Thanks, everyone.